Hi everyone. Well, greetings from sunny Florida. Just in my hotel at the moment with work. Anyway, I've been putting together a bit of video. Done quite a lot of road trips, as you know, in the car, up across France mainly, but not that many in the way of long road trips in the UK. So this is Bournemouth up to Blackpool for a bank holiday weekend, which was about 290 miles each way. I hope you enjoy the content, and thanks for tuning in. Okay, so just left for Blackpool, long journey, not as far as I thought, 287 miles it says. So I just popped the destination into the car and it's already said that we won't get there without having to stop to charge. So I'm going to let the e-tron route planning work out the stops, but I might not follow them all because I looked at a better route planner. I've had a look at some of the other charging options I've got and I'll just see what it comes up with, and we might flex things depending on when we need to stop. But we should be able to get up there with just the one stop. And I've also had a look on the Octopus Electroverse, and that tells me the car park behind where we're going has got some AC chargers, so charging up overnight will be pretty easy, and their pricing is good too. So we only need one recharge stop, and it doesn't matter if I get up there with quite a low battery. So the Audi e-tron route planner that's built into the sat-nav, that says so we can stop at Porsche in Solihull, and then that'll get us up to Hampton. I'm going to kind of flex things a little bit. I might stop at Banbury, I might stop at Ionity Stafford. Ionity is a bit cheaper for me with the Audi charging account that I've got, but it's nice to have a plan in there. And of course, if I do charge up beforehand, that might change my route through Birmingham, carrying up to Blackpool, because I've got a couple of different routes up there. And of course, traffic will vary things too. So I'm going to accept this for now, and then we'll just be a bit flexible and stop when we need to stop. Okay, well, traffic was pretty poor coming up towards Winchester. Now on the A34 up towards Newbury. Actually, this is Tot Hill Services here, and there's this big Shell garage with 4 or 5 high power chargers, and next door to it is a McDonald's with a couple of Instavolt 120 kilowatt chargers. So plenty of charging options there, but we don't need to use those. But the next lot of chargers will be at Cheveley Services at the M4 at Newbury when we cross the M4 carrying on north. What I've done while we were stopped in the traffic jam is I've had a little tweak at the sat-nav, and I put Stafford Ionity as a destination into the sat-nav, and then I changed it to say it's a stopover and not our final destination. So now on our route plan it shows that we've got Ionity Stafford as a stop before we get up to our final destination. Because it thought we'd get to Ionity Stafford with under 10%, it suggested a charging stop on the way. So it's put BP in on the way up, but it's only a 7-minute stop, as you can see. And if we had 15%, well, we get to Stafford with 24. So if I do nothing and drive past that charger, I should still have 8 or 9% when I get up to Stafford. So we may not stop at all. I think it's really going to be driven by any need for coffee and a break from driving rather than the car's battery. But at the moment, if I can, I'll just carry on up to Ionity Stafford. I know there's a Starbucks next door, and that will be where we charge. Traffic's been pretty horrid. We've had a couple of really nasty long traffic jams with accidents and roadworks. It's taken us over 3 hours to do 100 miles. But because the speeds have been lower, the sat-nav system recalculated our charging plan because the efficiency of the car had changed, and it dropped the charging point just south of Abingdon and says carry on up to Stafford and get up there with about 13%. So that's the current plan. We've just come past Banbury. There's about 24 high power chargers there at Stroud Park, so we've got plenty of options on the way, and there's a few more that I've got, and they do list themselves up on this right hand side of the sat-nav. You can see what you're going to go through, and you see them marked on the screen as well. So we've got plenty of options, but at the moment we're just going to carry on up towards Stafford. I'd really like to combine the food stop with the charging stop, and we might look at alternatives on the way depending on what there is at the motorway services on the way up. Well, we've been on the road for 4.5 hours now. We've only managed to cover 170 miles in that. I've got about 46 miles of range remaining, which is just fine to get me up to Stafford. with just over 10% of battery, about 25 miles left on the range. But I am hungry, need to pop to the loo. Family are all hungry in the car, so we're going to pull off here at the services on the M6 toll, and we will grab a bite to eat there. So we're going to pop into Norton Keynes. We're going to grab some food probably in Lyon, and if they've got chargers there, we're going to plug in. I believe there's a couple of grid serve chargers. My son just did a quick Google. They're not particularly powerful, they're only 60 kilowatts, but that will do the job. Let us plug in there. Now, I've got 45 miles of range left, and it's only 120 to the hotel, so I only really need to add about 80 miles of range. So the fact that these are less powerful chargers, that doesn't really matter. It's going to add 2.5 to 3 miles of range every minute, so half an hour plugged in while we eat, and we should have ample battery to get up to Blackpool without stopping at Ionity Stafford. Well, we're at Norton Keynes. Kids, my wife has run in to get some food, and in front of the car, I'm not going to put them on public, but we've got 3 cars plugged into the 2 grid serve chargers that are there, and others waiting. So although I'm in front of the queue, there's no queuing system, so whether I'll get to keep my place or not, very hard to say. So if I get a chance to plug in, I'm going to plug in. Don't know that I'm going to get a chance to plug in. Well, it didn't take too long in the end. 3 or 4 minutes waiting, and I got plugged in as a Polestar pulled out, but there's still 2 or 3 cars waiting behind me. It's just not really good enough when you get 3 CCS chargers and 1 CHAdeMO for a busy motorway services. Could carry on up to Stafford, but while I'm parked, I will charge and then move on as soon as possible. Well, the chargers here were only delivering 30 kilowatts, so that would take me forever to charge up. I need a much faster charging speed, and so we decided we're going to do a takeout. We're going to carry on up to Stafford just as we planned to. So we're heading up to Ionity now. It's 20 miles down the road. My range has only gone from 40 up to about 60, so didn't achieve a lot in the few minutes I was gave up on the grid service chargers at the services. We decided to do a takeaway instead. I was only getting 30 kilowatts of power there. I needed about 30 kilowatt hours to give me the extra range. I needed the extra 80 miles, so that would have taken me an hour plugged in there. It was also busy with a big queue, so we've moved on to Stafford Ionity. I've plugged in. I'm getting this cheap through the Audi account. I'm charging at over 140 kilowatts right now, and another 20 miles, just another 3 or 4 kilowatts plugged in, just a few moments, and I will be on my way. Well, I haven't got to Blackpool last night. Reflections on the journey, really. Well, the Norton Keynes grid serve chargers, if they had been charging at 60 kilowatts, as it should do as a 60 kilowatt charger, that would have been fine. And it wasn't shared because the other plug was CHAdeMO, and there are no CHAdeMO vehicles plugged in. So it wasn't doing a shared charge, but it only gave me 30. So to put 30 kilowatts in, as I said, that would be an hour of charging. So we ditched that one. We went up to Ionity at Stafford as I'd originally planned. Not so much in the way of facilities there, just a nice Starbucks. But we plugged in. I ate the food that we got at the services. I walked next door to Starbucks, grabbed a coffee, got back in the car and carried on the road. So didn't hold me up too much. I was plugged in for 17 minutes, 40 kilowatt hours. That cost me about £12.50 as I used my Audi card to pay for that. And we were back on the road and up here to Blackpool. Thankfully, you have very little more in the way of traffic jams. It just turned into a horrendous journey. Probably, third longer than it should have done with all the traffic jams. But I've got to say, you're going to sit in a traffic jam. Audi e-tron's a pretty nice, comfortable place to sit if you're going to be sat in traffic and getting frustrated. And of course, automatic and electric, it's just an easy way to travel around. So that worked pretty well. Anyway, at the Hilton in Blackpool, the Hampton Hilton Hotel, and they've just put some chargers in their car park. So these are 7 kilowatt AC chargers. You can see it there behind me, plugged into the e-tron. The network is called Fuse. I'd never heard of it, but I checked on my Octopus Electroverse card, and it is partnered with them. So I just tapped my Octopus card on the card reader when I plugged in, Car's charged up overnight. I set it to 80% as I normally would at home. So I've got about 160, maybe 180 miles of range at the moment. And if I want to top it up a bit more, depending on my charging plan for going home, then I'll set it on a timer and I'll top it up to 100% before I leave in a day or two. So anyway, I hope you found the northbound useful. Said charging worked okay, we were here fine, didn't run out of battery. I actually had 55 miles of range left when I got here, so if I hadn't gone for that coffee I could have unplugged a few minutes sooner and got up here with less battery as I knew I could. So it's been alright, not as convenient as a diesel, I'll accept that, but decent way to travel, certainly very comfortable and much lower emissions at the point of use. Okay, so Blackpool back to the south coast, to Christchurch, so it's 290 miles and we didn't leave Blackpool till quite late, a lot later than we expected. I had got a plan to stop at Cherwell Valley on the M40 where we get food and use the grid serve charges there, but it looks like we're going to need to eat before that, so we're just on our way and we will work out where we're going to stop on the route. I'd like to combine the food stop with a charging stop, but it won't take long to charge this. I've only got to add about 40 or 50% of battery, so we can do that anywhere from Stafford onwards and we would make it all the way home. Just coming past Stafford, we have done 100 miles of driving. We left at about 6:45. We're on the road for an hour and 40 minutes, and basically from here onwards, if I stop and charge and add about 100 miles of range, I'm going to make it home, because the distance to home from here is around 200 miles, so just under 200 miles. So anywhere from here onwards is a good charging option. The trouble is that my plan to go to M40 Cherwell Valley, that won't get me there until quite late, about 10 to 10 tonight, and that's going to be a bit late to feed everyone in the car, so I'm likely to stop before that and then maybe have to separate the charging stop. So that's the downside of this trip, is that we can't really combine the charging and the break that we want to take. Obviously it's easier to do that with diesel because you can always fill up, but that's the downside of electric at the moment on this journey, is that we can't get the fast charging combined with the eating stop that we want to make. So it looks like we're going to be stopping for food and then we're going to carry on and charge elsewhere. It depends how long we stop for and whether the chargers are available. There's going to be some DC chargers, 50 kilowatts or 60 kilowatts, wherever we stop for food. So let's see how they perform. So we might be there long enough to get that 100 miles of range added and on our way. Another thing is that at the moment, if I charged up and added 100 miles of range, because this car charges quickly to 80% and then slows down quite a lot on the charging, and I need to put about half a battery in, it makes more sense and it's faster to go from 30% up to 80% than it is to go from 50% to 100. That's true of all electric cars, but it's still true of this Audi. Once you get over 80%, the charging speed does drop off a little bit. So the ultimate kind of charging stop would be to get down to 30% or less, somewhere down near Bicester or Banbury, having done 150 miles or more, and then charge up and add 100 miles of range. If I do it here at Stafford at the fast charger Ionity, I'll charge very quickly to 80%, then the charge speed slows down again, and it'll be a longer stop than charging from a lower battery state.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realise you were filming. I just wrote Molag. It says group description, Molag. I don't even know what that means.
Well, to put that on the blooper reel, Alice.
Molag.
Don't worry, I haven't bothered stopping recording because I'll just listen to all of this back later and start laughing at myself. So, hello future me. Right. Whenever you're ready, Daddy, and whenever Alice is like, shut up.
3, 2, 1, action.
Okay, so we pulled into Norton Keynes. Food was the priority, but the grid service chargers that were there, previously they were queuing and 3 were plugged in and that, so we thought we'd give it a go. There's only 1 car plugged in. I couldn't get one of the chargers to activate. I kept getting a red fault light on my car when I plugged it in, but the other cable plugged in, we started charging, it was showing 52 kilowatt charging speed. So we wandered into services, we've sat down, we've had a bite to eat, I've had a coffee, we used the facilities there, and we've come straight back out to the car after we've eaten. We haven't gone particularly slowly or anything, and in that time, although the charging speed is nothing like the peak charging performance that you can get, because we only needed to add about 80 miles of range to this car, we've actually added about 100 miles onto it, and we've got more than enough to get home now. So my range remaining is 192 miles, just putting out the services. I've got about 175 to go home. I should get home with between 15 and 20 miles. Efficiency is doing all right. It's a little bit cooler on this southbound journey, but we're still getting 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour. We've got 2.8 or 2.9 on the northbound. And yeah, we'll just carry on home now. I'm going to be home rather late at night, but I've had a coffee, I've had a break from the car, I'm feeling fresh, and this shouldn't be too bad a journey at all now.
Dad,
Yes.
is there any other car you'd rather be doing this journey in?
In terms of comfort and refinement on the motorway, I think it's pretty hard to beat an Audi e-tron. Of course, something like a Tesla Model S long range, that would do the journey Blackpool to Bournemouth without stopping to charge. So you just, stop when you need a coffee or a break, and don't worry about the charging, just charge it up at home. There's plenty of other kind of electric cars. All electric cars are smoother and more comfortable than petrols and diesels, because they don't have those pistons vibrating up and down and all those explosions going on in the cylinders. They're just smoother and nicer. But of all the cars I could be in, I reckon the Audi e-tron is pretty much the best motorway cruiser I've ever been in.
I mean, from my perspective, I don't have a heated seat back here, so I'd rather be in a Hyundai, but
I will grant you the equipment levels on these, and even on the new Q8, are very, very poor. And a friend of mine was looking at choosing an electric car, and there were some pretty good deals with the lease company that our employer uses on the Audi Q8, and he was looking at a black edition, which is quite a high way up through the range. But when you start looking at the options, you get nothing that's in the Tech Pack, you get nothing that's in the Tech Pack Pro, you get nothing that's in the Tour Pack, and you get nothing that's in the City Pack, and that's a lot of equipment. So although these are very comfortable, very refined cars, unless you put option packs on, they just come as a pretty basic car throughout the range until you get to the four-sprung. And if you're lucky enough to be able to afford a four-sprung edition, you get every possible option. So when it comes to changing this at the end of my lease, if I am going to stick with an Audi, I'd probably accept having a 50 rather than a 55, because I'd get the same size battery, but I'd lose a bit of performance. I gain some efficiency because that's been changed on the new one. Better aerodynamics, better rear motor, better drivetrain, new battery chemistry. But if I could, I would stretch up to a four-sprung. But there should be some other options on the market when it comes to changing this. So, wait and see. I quite fancy looking at a Kia EV9 or Hyundai Ioniq 7 when that hits the market.
Polestar?
Polestar 3 is the same length as this. It's got a bigger battery. The sloping roof will hit the rear headroom and the boot space. But I do love the look of the Polestar 2, and the Polestar 3 is an interesting car. So again, that is an option. I could go down to an Ioniq 5. It's a good practical family hatchback. It's got loads of space in it. But for the ski trips, I would probably need to put the skis on the roof, because I don't have that load-through facility in the car. And of course, finally, I've got the Skoda Enyaq, a model that's been around for a while. But if I got a dual motor 80X Sportline, that is very highly equipped. It's got similar range to this, and it's got a limited load-through facility. It's got a ski hatch rather than a 40-20-40 split. So that's a possibility. The BMW iX, when it's all right in the dark when you can't really see it, and it's magnificent on the inside, but I really don't find it a very attractive car. The Mercury EQC, that's being refreshed, I believe. They've disappeared off the Merc website, but that's got the load through, but it's a slightly smaller boot, slightly less rear seat space, smaller battery, but a bit more efficient. Be interesting to see what the updated EQC looks like. I had a look at a Mercedes EQS, way out of my price range, absolutely massive, but what a magnificent car. So thanks for everyone tuning in there and watching through the video. Hope you found some of the stuff interesting, particularly the way the Audi sat-nav recalibrates your efficiency as you drive and adds and removes charging stops. I think that's a nice feature of the e-tron. It's got very good route planning software on it. As you can see, plenty of charging options. There was Tothill, there was Banbury. What I didn't mention was the Cherwell Valley on the M40. That's one of the new grid-served charging hubs with loads of 350 kilowatt chargers at it, and the Birmingham NEC, that's been coming up on a better route planner and a few other options. That is now the largest charging hub in the UK. That's got like 30 or 40 rapid chargers at it and a large number of AC chargers. So if you're driving past Birmingham, that is a pretty decent option now for putting into charge up. Overall, I spent £74 on recharging the car on that 600-mile trip. So, not a bad expense, certainly a lot more than just recharging at home. But that does cover the cost of kind of taking the car back up to full, because it started out with full from home. So I think that's a reasonable cost to bear. Some of it was discounted because I get the cheaper charging through Ionity with the Audi Pro charging account. That is a subscription account, but I've used it enough now that I've reclaimed all the cost of the subscription. So anything onwards is just a benefit for me with quite cheap charging. So £74 with some local running around in Blackpool, 600 miles total. If you're doing 55 to 60 miles to the gallon in a petrol or diesel, you are getting a pretty similar total cost. That will come in around the £75 mark as well. So, pretty similar. And I have rented a diesel Golf Estate. Fabulous car, really comfy. Achieved those kind of figures. So I know it is possible for you to be able to run your car for slightly less money than the cost of public charging. But most of the time, I don't public charge. It costs me about £6 to fill up. I can get nearly 200 miles range out of that with an 80% charge. And most of the time, the Audi is much cheaper to run than a fossil car. I guess I'm one of the lucky ones with a driveway and a home charger. I'm not too sure how EVs work out if you don't have your own parking space. I know that's a bit of an issue, and certainly your charging costs aren't going to save you any money compared to running a petrol or diesel around. Well, thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe. In the links, there is one to my Octopus Electroverse. That's the account I use to charge up in Blackpool at the hotel, and there's a referral reward on that as well. If you click on that, if you don't have one, get yourself the Octopus card, and then we both benefit a little bit from that. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you soon for some more content.